Want to bring in North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, the Trump campaign surrogate. Apparently, he's been all over the world. So welcome back to North Dakota. Thank you for your time. We just saw the clip of Liz Cheney on the stump of Kamala Harris. This is her closing argument in the last 14 days. It doesn't seem to be a lot of joy. Cheney lost her primary by almost 40 points. She was very pro-life in Congress, and apparently she's turned a little bit on the other side. Why, I do not know. But here is Kamala Harris going after Donald Trump, saying that he's unserious here. Watch.
Donald Trump is an unserious man. And the consequences of him ever being president of the United States again are brutally serious. When we think about what is at stake in terms of our democracy, rule of law, the Constitution of the United States, national security, the standing of our country in the context of the world, all of that is at stake.
I guess we could have picked something else. But, you know, the joy has left the room on that soundbite. Washington Post poll. Who do voters trust more when it comes to handling the threat to democracy? Trump 43, Harris 40. Where's this argument go, Governor?
Well, I think that last slide you have up tells it all, which is that all of the messaging from the Harris campaign is not working. It doesn't matter, these false claims about threat to democracy. I've been all along saying I've lived it. I was a governor under President Trump. I was a governor under the Harris-Biden administration. And in one of those, under President Trump, we had prosperity. The economy was rolling. The federal government got out of the way. They supported states and locals to make local decisions. And then you got Harris-Biden, and it was like this whole idea that they're going to come up with an idea of one-size-fits-all rules and regulation. That's why states like North Dakota are literally suing the federal government on 30 different fronts, because they've bypassed Congress. That's democracy. They've got their own ideology that they drive through regulations, and then they try to enforce it like law. And the thing, that to me is like a dictatorship when you have one administration, and Harris is got her fingerprints all over this. I mean, she had more tie-breaking votes than any vice president in the history of America when she was leading the Senate, including her disastrous votes in support of things that created all the inflation we have, that's created the attack on U.S. energy. So she owns what we have, and then when she tries to say, oh, we should all be concerned about a Trump administration, it's condescending to every American voter, because American voters lived through the Trump administration just like I did, and they all prospered. And so for her to say it's why its message is falling flat, it's why President Trump has the momentum, it's why he's winning in every swing state.
You've been skeptical of her position on fracking, she's been going back and forth, and apparently she's gone back again. This is a spokesperson of hers, a climate aide to her, said to Politico, she is not promoting expansion of fossil fuel drilling. She just said that they wouldn't ban fracking. And the fact that anyone could look up is that the IRA required leases, and that was not something that she promoted. But listen to this. This is her position, as stated before, back then.
To get rid of the filibuster, to pass a Green New Deal. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes.
I am committed to passing a Green New Deal, creating clean jobs, and finally putting an end to fracking once and for all.
So then she said she wasn't, but now the spokesperson is saying, but really it's not that big a deal, and it's really not as big a thing as we're making it out to be. You're the governor of a state that does a lot of this kind of work. What do you think?
Well, I think whether you're an energy worker working on a drilling rig in North Dakota, Texas, or Pennsylvania, by the way, produces 20% of the U.S.'s natural gas. She's got no credibility. If you're a CEO of an energy company, she's got no credibility on this issue. She said, her values haven't changed. She's a Green New Deal climate extremist. She's the most extreme climate candidate any party has ever put up. And not only does this hurt American workers at home, it's these policies that have funded the wars abroad. This is Russia and Iran. Iran's funding terrorism around the world with the Harris energy policies. And so when you are overseas and when you're talking to the leaders of Israel, the leaders of Korea, they can't wait to have President Trump back in office, in part because they want to be able to buy energy from us, not from our adversaries.
I thought the more telling indicator was a couple days ago, when a Democratic senator in Pennsylvania includes Donald Trump in his ads. And a Democratic senator in Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin, includes Donald Trump in her ads. That is the biggest 180 I think we've been able to track in some time, Governor. Last comment on that.
Well, it is, but it's like, hey, they're jumping on the winning train because they understand, and maybe they've started actually listening to voters in their states and understand why the voters are swinging towards President Trump, why President Trump's going to win, and why his policies actually matter. Because this is not about identity politics. President Trump's policies, they lift up everyone. A secure border, lower inflation, prosperity at home, peace abroad, that lifts up everyone. And it's why, if you go to a Trump event anywhere in this country, the people that are showing up are people of working class people that are working for a living, support President Trump, and that's why he's going to win this election.
One of the things that was interesting about when you ran for president and in the primary, you came up with an idea on the $25 gift cards, right? The gas cards, the charge cards. And you were accused of buying votes. Well, now Elon Musk is doing $1 million giveaway to registered voters, and some are suggesting not only is he buying votes, but that it might be illegal. What do you think of his idea and whether it is legal or not?
Well, I think it's completely legal what he's doing, which is, Harris is going to spend $1 billion trying to influence voters, and she's got all the mainstream media using her talking points, and that's all fine. If a private sector individual wants to encourage people to register to vote, that is entirely legal for him to do that. He's not buying votes. He's getting people engaged in the democratic process. And so this is so again, when people come up with these criticisms, they're running scared because they're afraid of good ideas. They're afraid of actual market forces. They're afraid of private sector ideas that are being introduced here in some of this stuff. And so I think it's great what Elon's doing on that front. And again, I hope everybody gets out and registers, and I hope that those people that register get out and vote, and I hope that they vote with their understanding that they were better off under President Trump than they are right now under Vice President Harris.
No, we know people are voting in big numbers too. What that means, we don't know, but the left's certainly raising some cackles over what Elon's doing in Pennsylvania. Governor, thank you for your time. Let's speak again real soon and see where we think we are in this race.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Dana.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.